you had to pick a Mr. Right from the movies to be your ideal husband, who would it be?
Mr. Darcy. Hands down, Mr. Darcy.
Hugh Grant, every single movie.
All of the men in Love Actually.
Aw, Mr. Big. Sex in the City? Yeah.
Oh, Vince Vaughn. Well, whatever role he plays. Oh,
Really?
yeah.
That's a
or
unique
Tony.
choice.
What's the guy?
Sopranos?
Yeah.
Can we do like a combination, like Brad Pitt look, yet Hugh Grant personality?
What does Mr. Right look like in the countries where you're from?
He's not there.
I don't think I ever decided to look for Mr. Right and really seek him out, but I was kind of intrinsically programmed to seek him out. It was just kind of the way it was. I thought, I'm going to find a man just like these guys in the movies, and it's just going to be a fairy tale happy ending, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Erin's bed was amazing. I think it was a double or a queen. It was a decent-sized bed, and she slept on half of it, and the other half was stacked with chick lit, so Bridget Jones, etc. They took up half her bed, where she could have let a person be if she'd let go of some of the ideals that were in the books she was reading.
I started questioning what role chick lit and romantic comedies were having in my life when my ex-boyfriend accused me of needing a man to act like a guy out of the movies. He said, you need a man to be in his underwear and be running down the street with a stereo over his head, blasting a love song while he screams out your name to really believe that somebody loves you, and you won't settle for anything less.
No flowers.
My first thought was, no, I'm not like that. But then it was kind of, well, is that so much to ask? And so now I'm wondering, is that too much to ask?
In the movies, Mr. Right always shows up at the airport with last-minute I love yous. In reality, we're lucky if he shows up at all.
In sports, the National Hockey League features a busy
Ever since women were little girls, they have been consuming the fairy tale about so many things, about dating, about marriage, about weddings.
Our media culture, from the time that we're small children, is sending these messages about what relationships should be that don't really match the way they are in the real world.
I mean, from childhood, we start with reading fairy tales and getting that sense of one day my prince will come, right? And you're meant to be rescued by this prince who is going to take you away from everything that's bad and ugly and dirty in your world, and they're going to give you this amazing place. You're going to live in that land far away, and that's what you get, your happily ever after.
I think my first notion of a Mr. Right and this perfect man that I was looking for was actually Disney's Robin Hood, because he was so brave and he was handsome and he was dashing. And he was a cartoon character, but still, I really loved those qualities. So I thought maybe there is a perfect man out there like that I can then be with. Hopefully not just in a cartoon form.
Whether it's the books, the magazines, the movies, all these things just feed into women's false expectations, their unrealistic thoughts and wishes that they're going to get this perfect fairy tale life, and it doesn't really exist.
In romantic comedies and chick lit, Mr. Right comes in several different, yet somehow similar forms. He's lusciously handsome and extremely successful. He's witty and charming. It may seem like he isn't ready to commit, but deep down, all he wants is to find, marry, and start a family with the woman of his dreams. Mr. Right will do anything to win your heart. Anything. As long as it expresses just how far he's willing to go to prove his love for you.
Mr. Right is pretty damn incredible. No wonder so many of us keep looking for him.
But is what we're looking for changing?
I think because women are so successful today and so financially independent that they're looking for different things today than they were 50 years ago.
The current job description for a good husband is to be all things to one person.
You need to be a good provider, a chauffeur, a housekeeper, a cook, a nanny, and you also have to be that person's best friend.
Well, I feel like saying to those women, well, go get a girlfriend, because men are not women.
As this sociological shift evolves, we're bombarded with messages telling us that this new and improved guy is out there. And he'll say things like,
"You are lovelier this morning than you have ever been."
When he's actually far more likely to say things like,
"Hey, you want a drink or whatever? Like, I've been looking at you, I've been seeing you, you look cool."
"Did you fall out of heaven this morning?"
I don't really have to say a whole lot. I'm incredibly good looking.
Reality looks pretty lame in comparison. And it's not just what they say that looks lame.
Women are rejecting perfectly nice men because they don't look like Sawyer out of Lost. You know, and not everyone can look like Sawyer out of Lost. I'd say even Sawyer doesn't look like Sawyer out of Lost many days when he hasn't been at the fake tan and all.
If you look at TV, you look at movies, at least North American, what you find is a great stereotype. There's probably about 10 different heads and maybe 3 or 4 different bodies, and they're interchangeable.
We are surrounded by images of these perfect celebrities everywhere we go, right? So I was thinking about it. It's like, what kind of effect does being surrounded by celebrities have? You know, you walk into a place and there's just an average guy there, and you're used to seeing celebrities, so it's like, average guy, not so attractive.
When an average person, a male or a female, is seen after a series of very highly attractive males or females, that average person will be seen as much less attractive than when they are seen in the context of less attractive individuals.
Play a bit of a game with me? Of course. It's a rating game. Okay. So you need to pretend that your boyfriend isn't going to see this. Okay. And you need to tell me what you think of these guys between 1 and 10. 1 being like they're kind of ew, not so good, and 10 being like, oh my god, he's so hot, what's his phone number? Okay? You ready for it? All right. We're just going to go through really fast. Ready? 2. 4. 2. What about this guy? 10. Hugh Grant gets a 10, okay. We have Brad Pitt, 10. I got 8. It's Brad Pitt. And just one more time. Can you just rate these guys for me again? 2. Oh, you agree, okay. 1. 4. 2. Great. Is it like -1 before?
In the past, our ancestors were living in small villages, and they were very isolated and probably only saw, maybe in their lifetimes, because they didn't travel much, maybe 500 people. And now we can see that many people in a day.
When there are a lot of attractive men in pop culture, in movies, in magazines, TV, we start to think it's common. So we see them everywhere and we think, oh, they are everywhere. And then we expect to find that in our own life.
I wrote a card to Chris O'Donnell when I was like 14. What? Yeah, I know. I sent him a card, stalker. And I wrote to him and said, you know, I think we're perfect for each other. I think that you should, I was 15 or 14, like, yeah.
Wow.
I think you should meet me at the Eiffel Tower in a year or something, on some birthday of mine or something. And I'm just like, I thought it was totally normal, and I was so upset.
Did you go?
No.
How do you know he didn't go?
He didn't write me back. He didn't write me. I know, maybe he's still there waiting for me.
Too high expectations is what destroys relationships, both from men and women. And I blame the media. You know, we are both told to expect the bigger, the better, the transcendent, the bigger and better than normal life. But normal life is what we live.
My colleague, who's an expert in relationships, and my area is media, we got together and we thought, let's examine whether people who consume a lot of romantic genre media actually do have unrealistic expectations. What we found was the more you watch soap operas, romantic comedies, the reality programs about dating and relationships, the more you bought into these idealistic expectations.
The appearance of an infinite source of potential soulmates can actually skew our search for Mr. Right. In my earlier dating days, I was limited to searching for a high-quality, attractive man in my day-to-day life.
I dated guys I worked with, guys I met through work, and other guys that I worked with.
Eventually, I got into work situations where the options just weren't there. Where do you go to find Mr. Right? Where would you look for him?
I would say just through friends.
Yeah?
That's probably the best place.
The gym. Yeah, the gym. Because then you have like similar interests.
The nursery.
Oh, like gardening kind of thing?
People are all into nature. And
that's kind of cool.
Green thumbs are good to have around the house.
School.
I think sports is where I, through like volleyball and like different social networks. Like
Through friends, I think is the best way to do it.
Well, the grocery store is not bad, actually.
Just sit around squeezing the fruit and hope he comes along, or... I've heard the produce section is the best for dating. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I find carbohydrates. Get in the bread aisle.
And where's a good place to meet men?
I don't know. If you find out, tell me.
What about the bar?
No. That's a bad place to find guys, I'd say.
Where did you meet your guy that you're dating?
At the bar.
Uh-oh. I've never really had luck at bars because I don't think I have the self-confidence to go up to somebody at a bar and introduce myself. So internet dating really appealed to me because I felt confident in my writing abilities, and I just was able to contact people through email, and if they didn't respond, so what?
I think because Erin was so disheartened with the real-life people that were immediately available to her, that she began doing the online thing. That's really a popular thing, especially at that time, just got to be really accepted socially.
I started online dating to increase my chances of finding Mr. Right, but would it help or make things worse?
Have you ever tried any internet dating at all?
I did, and it was disastrous. It was absolutely disastrous. The profile rarely represented the person I found. Rarely.
I have a nephew who met his wife online. They've been married about 5 years.
Yes.
How did that go for you?
Yeah, how did it go? Okay, one really bad date. Oh my god, never do it again. And then one good guy, I guess. I have friends that are currently doing it, but...
Are you hearing any results? Like,
they go on a lot of dates.
Yeah.
A lot of first dates, I think, is kind of what happened.
As our access to a supply of single men increases, our standards actually rise along with it. A popular joke on the internet explains how having lots of choices can lead women to be greedy. A new husband shopping center opened where women could pick and choose the husband of their dreams. Once you go up to the next floor, you can't go back down. The center included 5 floors. As you went up a floor, the husband's attributes got better and better.
I think that women are too picky.
Everybody has their own list of you know, what do they call it? The make or break list. You know, he must be 6 feet tall. He must make $200,000 a year.
I think you can get a list that is so long that really it's a computer printout and you need a Sherpa to drag it around.
Do you guys have a height requirement, like a minimum to
Taller than me. That's it.
And obviously taller than me.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they have to be taller than me because I like to wear heels.
I don't know that if I date shorter, probably at least my height.
Only 14% of the male population is 6 feet tall or higher. Every inch taller than that leaves you with even fewer men to pick from.
What kind of romantic things would you like guys to do for you?
Well, it would be wonderful if they take me out to dinner every night, they'd wash the dishes, they'd cook for me. In addition to being rich, having a great and fun job, taking care of the house, going shopping with me.
What do you think defines
defines a picky woman versus a woman who's just being, you know, properly selective? Yeah, decisive, yeah.
I think someone that, can't see maybe beyond a certain attribute, that they couldn't just, you know, say if someone had, I don't know, long hair or they wanted short hair, that kind of thing. To me, that's something that's picky. That's not being decisive, that's being picky.
There's picky, which is, you know, a lack of confidence, and then there's knowing what you want, which is having confidence, right? And so picky, they'll take apart little things that you can work through, but knowing what you want, you actually kind of go in for the long haul and you work through them, and then you get stronger because of it. Picky is, you can see picky coming a mile away.
And have you ever dealt with any women who are picky, known any women who are picky, or been accused of it yourself?
Well, I'm actually one myself. I've actually spent the last 24 years being single. So yeah, I'm incredibly picky. I'm not just saying that as an excuse. But yeah, but yes.
Have you guys ever dated any picky women?
No.
Are you?
No. Of course. Who hasn't, right? I mean, all women are picky.
Okay, so we got a woman here. She's going out speed dating. She's looking for Mr. Right, the man she wants to marry. And she's going to shut this guy right down. And I want to know if you think she's being picky or she's being reasonable. All right?
Okay. Hi, I'm David.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Sophie. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I just recently came back from Asia, where I was working with an international youth outreach program, and my parents have been so supportive of my work. And they've said as long as I continue this kind of work, I can live rent-free, and of course that doesn't hurt either.
So you live with your parents?
Well, I live in a suite in their basement, yeah.
Wow! Picky or reasonable?
Reasonable. Reasonable.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
So far.
Yeah? How come? How come?
Well, he dropped the parent name. It just seems a bit.
Yeah,
much,
it's a parent basement.
He could have just said, "It's a
man.
suite." He didn't have to mention it, right?
Yeah.
He could have just said, "I live in a basement suite."
I rent a basement suite would have been fine. He didn't have to say moms.
Yeah.
It's kind of a buzzer right there.
And what do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Have you ever been in that situation?
No, thank God.
I've lived in my mom's basement suite.
How did that work out for you?
Never luck when I said I lived in my mom's basement suite. No.
She can't come over and, you know, like what kind of relationship are you going to have when your parents are coming down to do the laundry and, you know, like check in on you? That's
a little awkward?
I think that's awkward,
So
yeah.
you would say she's being reasonable?
I think that's a reasonable concern if you live in your parents' basement.
So you think that's reasonable that you would give up possibly the love of your life because right at this moment in time they live with their parents?
Yes.
That's great.
I think it's reasonable. I wouldn't date someone at home at 25.
It's kind of awkward.
You know, when you're out and like when you go over, his parents are upstairs.
Well, then you can go have dinner with them after.
Yeah, exactly.
Home cooked food. After.
Totally reasonable.
And what do you think, male in the crowd?
It's reasonable.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, I mean, she obviously has an idea in her mind of who she wants to date, so totally reasonable.
Well, I've got another one. Do you guys want to see another one and see what you think?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Chuck.
I'm Sophie.
Nice to meet you.
So tell me about yourself. What do you do? Hobbies?
Okay, well, I work in the IT industry. Hobbies-wise, I volunteer at the hospital. I like movies, I like cooking, going for walks.
What kind of movies do you like?
I love action movies.
Right. Have you ever been to the art house theater?
Well, to be honest, really don't like to read, if you know what I mean, when I'm watching a movie. Just kind of like to turn my brain off.
Right.
She's definitely being picky.
What do you think?
A little picky, because I don't like reading during movies either.
I think it would be a deal breaker.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because from what you read and what you watch, a lot of dialogue can happen from that.
I think she's being fairly reasonable. Yeah.
How come? Why do you think?
Just because, I don't know, when it comes to like your job and everything, like that's fine, whatever you do, that's your job, that's what you do on a daily basis. But as for common interests and things that you want to do in like your alone time, your off time, something you would share with somebody else, you know, you want to be on the same page of things. And that is a turn off that when he said he doesn't like reading.
The most important things are the things that you need, and you can prioritize the things that you want. You want to be particular, but you don't want to be so picky and caught up in a fantasy that you miss him standing right in front of you.
I think that a woman's non-negotiables should be only emotionally based. Is he going to be nice to me?
I think you have to keep an open mind, because you may think that you love 6'3", dark-haired, green-eyed men, but you may find yourself, you know, falling in love with a 5'6" blonde. You just, you know, you never know what form he's going to come in.
It's one thing to think, you know, you're going to get Prince Charming. It's another thing to really just say, hey, the frog looks good to me too, so I'll just hang out with him.
I think what led to my desperate phase was I found out that my ex-boyfriend was dating somebody and I wasn't, and I didn't like that, so I needed a boyfriend right away. I needed that if I run into this guy on the street, I'm going to have a hot guy on my arm and he's going to be jealous, and that's just the way it's going to be. And subsequently, I ended up dating anyone that came along, and it was just a big, gross disaster.
No, I'm not allowed to drive anymore. I got so many DUIs, they won't even let me near a car.
Right now I'm writing 4 movies, I'm writing 4 screenplays, and then 1 TV show.
You want to just stop that?
Sorry, stop what? Just... I think you'll find I'm a very sincere guy. I'm really a one-woman kind of man. No, I'm good, thanks.
I find that it's very stimulating, and there's, you know...
If you're desperate to be in a relationship, then you have more, I think, inner voices that say things like, you're not very good company, you need somebody else, and you're never going to be successful until you're in a relationship.
For years in my 20s, I was this independent, you know, emancipated, successful woman, and yet the minute I got into a relationship, I literally just flung myself at their feet and said, whatever you want, I'll do whatever you want.
I guess Erin had been dating for a little while. These very strange people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there comes that time when you think there might not be somebody better than your ex.
Finding somebody new was getting too hard, and I was getting increasingly desperate. So I decided to beg my ex to see if he would consider getting back together with me, and I actually made some progress because we sort of started seeing each other again.
Yeah, I mean, I remember her calling me, and I was so surprised that she was thinking about getting back together with him, just because at the end of their relationship, it wasn't good. It wasn't a positive place for them to be, and it seemed like the best decision for both of them to part.
Yeah, there was a reason that they broke up, and I had to just say to Erin, you know, I'm not gonna just sit here and sweetly smile at you while you say that this is actually a good idea when I happen to know that this guy didn't respect you before.
A friend of mine has a really good analogy about relationships and getting back together with exes, and it's when you take the milk out of the fridge and you pour it on your cereal, and then you take a bite and the milk has gone bad. You don't take the milk and put it back in the fridge and hope it's better tomorrow. It's done.
Why would you settle for the frog? What are you willing to do as far as taking a hard look at yourself to get you from the frog to the prince?
One of my big hang-ups was wanting my life to be more like a movie and wanting the man in my life to make that happen for me. But can romance in real life be like it is in the movies? I thought that I would try out some grand romantic gestures from the movies and see if they can work in real life. And this is Ben.
Hi.
You take this, it's too heavy. So Ben is going to recreate the famous Lloyd Dobler scene in Say Anything. He's going to surprise his fiancée at work. So how are you feeling about it? You ready?
I think I'm ready.
Are you psyched?
Let's do it.
Are you scared?
Let's do it.
He's a little scared. Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
Do you see that open window above my head? Yeah, that's the ladies' washroom, and one of Ben's fiancé's friends was in there. She saw what we were doing and then told Ben's fiancé we were outside. So guess who came down the stairs looking for Ben? We were totally busted. Ben hid and we thought we could get away with it, but it just wasn't working, so we decided to just send him inside.
It's too corny or outdated. Maybe you like that other song better. And this is the one that you said that you hated. Oh, but I would stop. so whack it. Done goose sack is a skinny little guy.
Yeah, I would have done this without the camera crew.
Yeah, he likes to embarrass himself and me.
So,
yeah.
so now I've got our new wedding song.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That'll be our first dance.
Yeah.
He got busted before the stereo was even turned on, and the surprise was ruined, but she absolutely loved it. And so did her coworkers. This is Ryan. He's going to see if he can pull off an elaborate performance like the one in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
I'm Ryan Say.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Erin.
Hi, Erin. Nice to meet you, too.
You too.
So, I've got a pretty big question to ask.
Okay.
I was wondering if I could sing a song to my girlfriend during a Salmon Kings game. Yeah, it's a love song. I think it'll be pretty funny.
Funny or?
It'll be sincere and romantic and funny.
If you wanted to write, say, a short sort of introduction or
Okay.
why you're doing it.
Yeah, because I just want to make it clear that it's not a marriage proposal.
Yeah.
Because it's not, and I don't
You
want
wanna
her to get the
figure out?
wrong idea. Yeah, yeah. She said that there's going to be 4,000 people here, at least, maybe even more. So that's a little bit nerve-wracking.
There's a young man here in the crowd tonight who has something he'd like to say. Now, don't get too excited. It's not a marriage proposal. But he does want to share something with his girlfriend.
They say it's the little things, and you don't need me to put on a show. But you're such a special lady, you're such a sweet girl, and this is something everybody should know. Is it much too much to share these feelings? Feelings that just can't hide. Oh, you're everything to me, girl. I can't keep it inside. Oh, it's you. You're much too much.
That was just really brave and wonderful. Really flattered and impressed at the same time.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I do think more guys should do these kind of things for their girlfriends. Yeah.
Good luck finding guys.
Poor Ryan, he was really, really nervous, and he couldn't hear the music, so it didn't sound great. But she loved it, and so did the crowd.
What do you think is like the most cliche or common gesture, grand romantic gesture in the movies?
You know, whenever I go through the airport, it takes forever. So if I was trying to catch up to somebody, there's no way that's going to happen.
It's like the movie Love Actually when that kid runs the entire length of the Heathrow Airport. Yeah.
This doesn't happen in real life. Guys don't run for you.
Excuse me. Hi, I need to find out what flight Angie Porter's on, please. Look, I'm really sorry. This is just going to take 1 second. Angie Porter, it's really important. I need to find her, please. I need to know what flight she's on.
I've always wanted someone to do that. Always. And
Really?
it's so silly and it's so awful. Because are you really going to miss your flight? No, you're not. But yeah, I like it.
And it's not just anybody. She's my girlfriend, Angie Porter.
I'm sorry,
and it's
for
really
a girlfriend,
important.
I can't
Please,
do something
can I
like
look
that.
and...
No, you can't. I have to bend the rules.
Angie!
What do you think would happen to a guy who tried to bust through security? Can't even take your water bottle through security anymore.
Definitely get arrested.
You need a boarding pass. Just a minute. Alarm him.
But it would be very romantic.
Yeah, it would be.
I would go home with him.
Yeah. No, like if you're
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, screw my trip to Bali. I'm coming home with you.
I'd be freaked out. I'd be like, what are you doing? Can you go away, please? This is freaky. I have a flight to make.
Call me? Like, send me a message? Yes. And then there's the whole thing, why is the girl leaving? Like, would she even want the guy to be there?
That's a good question. Yeah, imagine you finally get out of there, you get on the plane, and then beside you, oh my God.
What are you doing here?
Leave me alone. And now you have a whole plane ride with
None of the experiments worked out the way that they do in the movies. I mean, the guys were really sweet, but it was so hard to find anyone willing to do it. And the guys were already in serious relationships, so it's not like they had anything to lose. So maybe life can't be like a movie. But does that mean that Mr. Right can't exist either?
Mr. Right for you is this guy who didn't necessarily fit the categories you expected, but maybe you just didn't know what you really needed after all.
If you're looking for the Mr. Right for you, like the guy you're with forever, what kind of qualities is he going to have?
Funny. He has to be funny. He has to have potential to be a good father, a good parent, a good partner.
But as a good friend as well, like you not only love the person, but you like the person.
Someone who can obviously make me laugh, and someone that I can see myself growing old with.
Kindness, honesty, integrity, and communication abilities. And I know that sounds really boring, but it's true.
When it's right, it just feels very easy and it's very organic.
I think you should get a life, then get the man. Once you're together and happy, you will also attract a different kind of person than you attract when you're unhappy, when you're sad.
I do think that you have to like your own company and you have to enjoy being alone, not only because it happens even in a relationship, because it does, but because you don't really learn very much about yourself if you're always looking for a life raft in another person.
You've got to be a complete person before you can have a healthy relationship with somebody else.
I needed to learn to be happy without a man in my life. So I did stuff alone and struggled through feeling lonely and self-conscious. The big test was going to a movie by myself for the first time. I actually did it, and then I had the confidence to take the next big step. I had to stop being so desperate and take myself offline. I started deleting my profiles, and then something happened.
I went onto this website, and I hadn't been on it before, and I was thinking, oh, am I ready to give this up? I don't know. And then I found this profile, and there was this guy, and I went, oh, okay. And I read his profile, and I just couldn't stop laughing. It was just, the sense of humor was just incredible. So I thought, I'm not going to contact him. All I'm going to do is make a profile of my own. I said, you know, if I don't hear from him within a week, I'm just going to take it down, and that's the end of it. Half an hour later, I had an email from him. He had just gotten in from being out of town for 2 weeks, saw my profile, and had to contact me. We started instant messaging back and forth for a while, and then we had our first date. It was fantastic, and then he drops me off at home, and he says,
I'll call you.
okay, bye. We've all heard that before, I'll call you. It's like the last thing you want to say to a woman. And I'm devastated, so I go inside and I kind of throw myself in my bed, and I'm totally defeated. And then the next day, I got this email.
I remember Erin telling me about Jeff, about her really long dates. Actually, I had called her during one of them, and then she put her phone back in her pocket, and it was still on. And so I heard a little bit. It sounded like they were having a nice time.
Lower our expectations. That's the key to happiness. And I don't mean that you're selling yourself short by doing that at all. I'm simply asking us to kind of check into reality as regards relationships.
So if you're able to keep your expectations low enough to be realistic, but high enough to get the happiness that you deserve, it gets a whole lot easier to find your Mr. Right for you. But the thing is, once you found him, then what? I think it's a little more complicated than that.
Everybody likes the big kiss. Everybody likes the music swelling up. That's a big popcorn moment, okay? Everybody loves it. I think even if the filmmakers can't capture it, I think it's important that people try to think beyond that and think about what would happen with this couple a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
It's actually pretty scary when your relationship starts to relax and it gets kind of comfortable, but that's exactly what's supposed to happen.
When people first fall in love, you know, they're still dealing with sort of all that chemical, emotional stuff of the true chemical high of the newness, of the act of falling in love and what that actually feels like.
It's hormonally, it's a brain flood of norepinephrine and dopamine that really do, you know, make you feel a little obsessive compulsive about another person. It's even a form of mental illness, really, for that 6 month to 2 year period where you are head over heels in love with someone.
And they're going to be gone for all of us no matter what. That's just the way physiologically we're built. So you better have something a whole lot stronger than that to base a lasting relationship on.
Men in real life can do some really sweet yet simple things to prove their love for you. But are these simple gestures even better than the grand, ridiculous ones in the movies? Have you ever had anyone do a really big romantic gesture for you?
I'm waiting.
I know that grand romantic gestures happen in real life, but I think often the most romantic gestures are the smaller ones.
Have you ever done anything romantic for a woman that you were dating?
Yeah, I mean, I guess buy her flowers, but I think that girls are getting kind of tired of that one, so they kind of wanted you to step it up a notch or something.
Taking a girl to go see Charlotte's Web, done by a little community theater, you know, and sneak in a nice bottle of Rowing Owl Cab Franc while you're there.
A surprise gift, a surprise flower.
Take a day off of work and go hike a trail to a secluded waterfall or something like that.
Trail of rose petals to the bed, covered in rose petals.
You've really done that?
Really done that, yep.
Holy crap, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And what do you think is unrealistic for women to expect as far as romance?
Trail of rose petals to the bed.
Someone I was with bought me WD-40 and duct tape and changed my light bulbs.
Sexy.
And I was like, that is hot.
The thought that you put into the smallest things often gets remembered longer than the money that you spent on an expensive dinner.
Every time it won't be something romantic or a happy ending or something that's fairy tale-like. It'll just be the mundane, you know, day-to-day stuff with little bursts and spurts of fun and surprises.
Marion and her husband Tony have been happily married since 1995.
The most beautiful thing, and he has done many, many beautiful things for me, is I was going on my first big book tour, and it was in Australia, and I needed sandals, particular sandals, and I became obsessed with them, and I saw them in a particular store in London, but they didn't have them in my size. I went home and I couldn't let go of them, and I was telling him about them, and I couldn't go looking for them again. I was working the next day and then I was leaving for the airport. So he made me draw the sandals. So I drew them and I wrote a little description, and he went around with the bit of paper and basically, have you seen this sandal? He's afraid of ladies' shops. You know, he does not like going into shops where women go. But he went because he knew it was important to me. And he knew it was about a lot more than just having the right sandals. That it was about the psychological mind. I was going into something frightening. And I felt if I had the sandals, I'd be okay. He found them for me in my size. I was just so touched that somebody would go to that much trouble for me. And I wore them to death. And I still have them because they're, you know, they're the most beautiful things I own, because they're such a sign of his decency.
I have a beautiful wife anyways.
Oh, you lickers.
Yeah. It was one of these moments of kindness that completely changed my life. We hadn't been dating for very long, and I came down with this really disgusting stomach flu. He could have yelled at me for not having a bowl to catch it in, or he could have told me to clean it up myself, or he even could have puked, but instead he just went and got the cleaning supplies and took care of it. And it was at that moment, that was it. I knew that Jeff was my Mr. Right for me. Was that moment romantic? No, it was gross, but it was also intimate and awe-inspiring and really, really loving. Jeff wasn't Mr. Right. He wasn't going to kidnap me on a personal jet and take me somewhere exotic for breakfast. And he wasn't going to put up with my melodramatic bullshit. But I knew that he was going to love and respect me, and that I would do the same for him. And that's really all that matters. It's true, we women need to cut you guys some slack, but it wouldn't hurt if you kick things up a notch or two. I mean, you know that no matter what, romantic gestures, even if they're really small, get you a good response. And what kind of things should guys say to you to make you feel nice? What kind of things do your boyfriends say to you?
Things like, I love you, or you're pretty today.
Anything where they let you know that they're thinking about you when you're not there. That's all it is.
When you're least expecting it.
It doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be like,
It's not sending flowers because you made a mistake. It's sending flowers.
spending time together. It doesn't really matter to me where we are.
It's like remembering something that I didn't expect him to remember, or taking me somewhere that I mentioned, you know, a long time ago, and he just, you know, stored it somewhere.
To compliment them on their little things, the changes that they do, like if they cut their hair, or if they change their makeup, or what they wear.
Tell her that she's beautiful every day.
You tell pretty women that they're smart, and smart women that they're pretty.
I'm not going to make a guarantee here, but if you make a woman feel good about herself, your chances of scoring soon after rise considerably. But don't make that your motivation for doing nice things. It's just a bonus. But it could be a really good bonus. When you think about it, everyday moments can actually be really romantic and movie-worthy. They just don't have the fancy editing and camera work and soundtrack. But if you don't believe me, just put on an MP3 player, listen to a love song, and take a look around. I do still love the books and the movies, not for maybe the same reasons as I used to love them, but I do still enjoy them.
Yeah.
And I would hate to kind of have an either-or situation. I mean, obviously I'd pick the guy, but it'd be nice to sort of have both.
I think that you can still read chick lit and still totally enjoy romantic comedies and be in a relationship at the same time. You know, that's good and fulfilling. I do.
I think chick culture is meant to be fun, and that women need to just take it that way.
I'm an undying romantic, so I'm a sucker for all that stuff, I'll admit it. So in some ways, there are positive aspects of it because it does give you hope. And, you know, you do believe that there is somebody wonderful out there for you, and you have to have that.
The ends of my books are never kind of the fairy tale happy endings. But what has happened is my characters have changed. They've grown up, they've learned things about themselves, and they've learned things about their relationships with other people. And equipped with that knowledge, they're able to go forth and live fulfilling lives. That's my version of a happy ending.
I know you said it's the little things, and you don't need me to put on a show. But you are such a special lady, such a sweet girl, and this is something everybody should know. Is it much too much to sing a love song to the woman that I adore? Is it over the top to serenade the one that my heart is beating for? Is it much too much to share these feelings, the feelings that just can't hide? Ooh, you're everything to me, girl. I can't keep it